Hi, I'm Jen, and you're listening to The Shadow Sanctuary, where I dig into the history of haunted locations to try to find a correlation between historical fact and paranormal experience. Is there a reason for the haunting? Why does energy stay? Keep listening to find out more. Welcome to The Shadow Sanctuary. I'm Jen, your host. Happy New Year. I hope that everyone had a safe and happy holiday season. This is the very first episode on the podcast. And so if you're listening, I just want to thank you for being here with me. I guess at this point, it's sink or swim. Today, I'm going to be discussing the very haunted, historic Bedford Springs Resort and Spa in Bedford, Pennsylvania. This is in my hometown. So without further ado, let's get into it. Located in southwestern Pennsylvania, about 108 miles east of Pittsburgh, sits the small town of Bedford. The town of Bedford got its beginnings in 1750 when a Scottish immigrant named John McRae built 3 cabins near what is now the town of Bedford. In 1766, John Lukens laid out the village of Bedford, which is now downtown Bedford. Incorporated in 1795, Bedford County itself is very rich in history, but it's the property located at 2198 Sweet Root Road, 5 miles from downtown Bedford, that I'm going to be talking about today. 8 natural mineral springs are situated around the resort known as the Bedford Springs, or by locals, the Springs. Long before any hotel or resort even existed, the springs were used by the Iroquois, Shawnee, and Tuscarora tribes for bathing and drinking because they believed that the water from the springs had healing properties. In 1796, the property was owned by Frederick Noggle, who rediscovered the healing powers of the springs. The property was bought in 1798 by Dr. John Anderson, who built an inn to treat patients for their various ailments using the spring water. By 1806, Anderson started building the first limestone structure on the property and called it the Stone House. The hotel was completed in 1822, being named the Bedford Hotel, and in 1830, a ballroom was added. In the early 19th century, the springs and the hotel were widely known across the country. In fact, in 1819, Thomas Jefferson was the first United States president to stay at the hotel. From 1857 to 1861, President James Buchanan called the Bedford Springs Hotel his summer White House, and it really was. The resort has been visited by 13 United States presidents, including Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and Dwight Eisenhower. Dignitaries, congressmen, senators, and even Mary Todd Lincoln herself have visited the hotel. It has also known such guests like business tycoons Henry Ford, William Vanderbilt, Andrew Carnegie, and John D. Rockefeller, as well as Pittsburgh socialites the Fricks, the Mellons, and the Hineses. During the Victorian era, the hotel became a popular resort when in 1895, Spencer Oldham designed the resort's first 18-hole golf course. Families came from all over the country to take in the healing waters of the springs, socialize, relax, and enjoy such activities as bicycle riding, lemonade parties, horseback riding, bowling, tennis, and fishing. In 1905, the resort opened one of the first indoor pools, which was fed by the spring water. The Victorian age also ushered in a boom of engagements and weddings at the resort, leading to the tradition of the newly engaged ladies testing their fiancé's purchase by scratching their names into the resort's windows with their diamond ring, names which can still be seen today. In 1936, the resort went bankrupt due to the financial difficulties during the Great Depression and had to close its doors. But during World War II, the United States government commissioned the resort to train naval radio operators and in-house Japanese dignitaries until 1945. The resort reopened after 1945 and was open year-round for the first time in 1950. It hosted weddings, plays, and was a popular place for meetings, conferences, and banquets to be held. It was declared a National Historic Landmark in 1984, but in 1986, due to flood damage and financial difficulties, it closed its doors for the next 20 years. In 2007, after a $120 million restoration, Omni Hotels and Resorts reopened the resort, calling it Omni Bedford Springs Resort and Spa, and it is currently open today. Guests and employees alike report sightings of soldiers, children, and ladies and staff in Victorian-era clothing, walking the grounds and the hotel, and even showing up in their vacation photos. Spirits have been heard and sighted in the location of the swimming pool when nobody is really there. Also, there's a spirit that seems to be partial to the reservation office cubicle who types on the computer. Surprisingly, full-bodied apparitions and audible sounds are very common at the resort, seemingly more so than in other haunted locations. Being touched is also a commonly reported occurrence. During my research into the resort and the property, I could not find any tragic or massive events that took place to explain the paranormal experiences. However, there is a theory that limestone holds energy, and parts of the original limestone structure are a part of the resort today. Water is also said to hold emotions. The springs are there, so that may explain the occurrences. There have been deaths in and around the resort. On July 25th, 1957, a 35-year-old assistant manager was found in his room by another hotel employee, apparently dead from an overdose. On October 30th of 1959, a 10-year employee at the hotel died from a heart attack while at work in the hotel. On July 25th, 1955, a 10-year-old boy drowned about a mile from the resort. And in the 1960s, many of the young men in the area worked at the Bedford Springs Hotel prior to being deployed to Vietnam, and a good many of them never came home. And one of the resort employees was actually arrested for unaliving a 12-year-old girl on September 11th, 1970. Her body was found about 10 minutes away from the resort. Could any of these poor souls be one of the spirits that frequents the resort? We may never know. It seems that the former staff and guests of this hotel turned resort seem unwilling to leave even in death, caught in some kind of residual time loop of work or play. Perhaps if you go yourself to visit the Bedford Springs, you may capture a full-bodied apparition in one of your vacation photos too. The Omni Bedford Springs Resort and Spa is located at 2198 Sweet Root Road in Bedford, Pennsylvania. They even offer haunted history ghost tours. If you stop by, let them know that the Shadow Sanctuary podcast sent you. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to check us out on Facebook for more information on upcoming episodes. As always, don't let the eerie vibes fade too quickly. Stay haunted, my friends.